come the autonomous trucks with all the regulatory implications that go along with it. When will they really arrive? Topic of my conversation today with Wiley Deck. He is Vice President of Government Affairs and Public Policy with Plus. Hello, Wiley.
Hello, good to meet you.
Thank you, and you too. So, when will autonomous, self-driving trucks arrive on the road?
I think that's a great question. It's a very challenging question because it requires that crystal ball of where we're going to be in the coming years with this technology, because it's something beyond just the cab, because we believe that our system, just like the other operators or creators of this technology, believe that by 2024 the driver can be safely taken out. But that's just the cab. We're not talking about all the other aspects of what the autonomous truck is, which includes the trailer. You need a smart trailer to be able to communicate with that cab and reveal to that cab the health of the brakes, the wheels, the tires. So you need a whole health approach to these autonomous trucks. And they need to be able to capture that and present that information to roadside enforcement at their inspection stations. And the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, they haven't even set the criteria yet on how these vehicles are to be inspected, much less the patchwork of states and their various regulations that it's okay to operate in one state, but in another state, you have to have that driver behind the wheel. So it's going to take at some point FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, to step in and create a uniform system to allow the operation of these trucks on our nation's highways.
Even so, I'm still kind of astonished that you just said that we could take the driver out of the cab in 2024. This is 2022, that's 2 years. That's not a long time. You're really ambitious and optimistic about that, are you? At least about that aspect of it.
Well, we're collecting data every day. Our systems are out on the road. Our competitors, they have trucks out on the road. They're collecting data, and it's growing that knowledge base for these trucks. And by 2024, there's going to be a lot of data collected during that time. Millions and billions of miles of data, of real-world data that you can't simulate. But by that time, the refinement that you see, and we're only talking, the long haul section of driving these trucks, not, driving in downtown Las Vegas or downtown Chicago or anything like that. It's some folks are hub to hub, or that type of scenario. So it's limited interactions with other vehicles, limited interactions with pedestrians. So it's a much more seamless area to work in than the aspect of driving downtown. So in 2 years, you can accumulate enough data to be able to pull the driver out of just the cab. But again, you remember the law enforcement and FMCSA, they're looking for the whole health of that vehicle. And one little caveat that people don't really think about, on these autonomous trucks, who puts out the road flares or the triangles that's required by regulation by FMCSA? Who puts those out when there's nobody in the cab?
And the trailer opens and a robot comes out and does it.
That has been suggested. There have been many other suggestions on how to do that, but that will also require a rule change by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which takes time. So that's the whole process there. That's why, by 2024, technically you could pull the driver out, but you won't be able to introduce that truck safely on the roads without that smart trailer and without the regulatory infrastructure to support that.
Okay, you cited FMCSA, federal. I'm sure there are other federal agencies as well. Don't you now also have 50 state DOTs?
You do, but at some point when FMCSA sets that overarching requirement, think of FMCSA as the DMV of the Department of Transportation. They regulate the operations of these vehicles, just like a DMV does in a state. So at some point, in order to encourage and ensure the seamless flow of interstate commerce, they're going to have to step in and preempt some of these states that have all these various restrictions
Right.
on the operations of the vehicles. The agency already sets up the requirements for the commercial driver's license for human drivers. They can do the same for autonomous trucks.
Beyond the interstate?
Well, what happens is that each state, there is, Oregon is the exception to some extent, where they receive federal funding as part of the motor carrier safety program, where FMCSA provides them money to do commercial vehicle regulation enforcement. And as part of that agreement, within 3 years of FMCSA promulgating a rulemaking, they must enact either state law or state regulations to mirror what the federal agency has put out. So at some point, again, FMCSA will have to make take that action and create that level playing field for everybody, that uniform system around the country.
How can automated trucks be part of the solution to the driver shortage?
Well, in the future, there certainly will be. It's not a solution tomorrow, it's not a solution the next day. This is going to be a time manner, but at some point in the future, again, the average age of a truck driver entering in to the industry now is 36 years old. So the challenge is that you've got people retiring out of the system, and we're not bringing enough young people into the system to backfill the people that are leaving.
Right.
So you add that in to the increase in transport of goods, and you've created an even more challenging situation on the driver shortage. So at some point in the future, when you have the full driver out, the driver shortage will certainly start to be addressed in a more uniform manner, because it's easier to recruit drivers for regional hauls because they're home every night or they're home every other night, so it's easier on their families and on them and their health. It's much more difficult to get somebody to drive the long haul, which is incredibly challenging profession, and I applaud the drivers that do that every day.
So this is how government can play a role in increasing recruitment and retention of the human drivers.
Absolutely. There are things that the government can do. They can. I would like to see them work with the shippers and receivers and the drivers and kind of bring them together to address pay issues as well as driver detention, because all that plays a factor in slowing the supply chain. Any inefficiencies that we see, whether it's being held in detention at the shipper or receiver for hours waiting to load or unload, is an inefficiency in the system of making sure that these products get to where they need to go in a good amount of time.
Well, Wiley, thank you so much for this. Is a fascinating discussion about autonomous trucks, when we might see them on the roads, what might stop them from being tomorrow, but they're out there in the future somewhere. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Wiley Deck of Plus. Thank you very much for watching.